Yes, it is currently possible to cheat on Mortal Kombat 1. If we just take this one Twitter clip alone, you see very quickly what the cheat actually does. The cheat is going to auto-duck pretty much every throw you use. Yeah, that's tough. But on top of that, you're also going to see the opponent just walk forward directly at you, and it'll almost make no sense. Like, the player has zero fear, you'll use a single attack. That is because the cheat actually gives you auto block. So you have auto duck and auto block working against you in your sets. It's absolutely scary and very, very tough. Now, the reason this is a big deal is there hasn't really been a way to cheat that works effectively in an online setting where ping and connections fluctuate. A cheat that is possible right now but nobody does is scripting your inputs. It would be extremely helpful to always get instant air teleports every single time you went for one online. The advantage you get from instant air teleports is huge, because if I do a teleport like that, the opponent has a lot of time to react. But on top of that, I can't actually jail on the first frame because my amplified teleport is whiffing. A cheat that solved both those problems, getting me to always teleport basically instantly and then being able to jail that into more pressure, would be super helpful and super cheap. The exact same technique of scripting your button inputs to be tied to just a singular button press would also help you always land optimal damage combos online. The issue is ping and the fluctuations of connections from opponent to opponent that you face. If you've played a single match of online Mortal Kombat, you'll know doing the combos feels nothing like how it does in training mode. The game is actually self-aware enough to have a setting you can turn on that simulates online input delay when you're just in training mode or playing offline with friends. The timing you need for your button presses will always slightly vary from match to match online, which makes auto-scripting combos worthless, because say after the second 4-3-2 right here, I get a lag spike. From that point onward in the combo, the script is mistimed, and for every other increase in fluctuation, it only falls more out of sync, and you'd end up just dropping all these combos. The second and last one I'll cover before we talk about beating the one that's actually in the game is people still always talk about lag switches. Lag switching is actually way harder in this game, and it's why you never see it. Otherwise, it would be a prominent cheat. In previous Mortal Kombat games like MK11, it used peer-to-peer servers, so the opponent could actually pull your IP address in specific scenarios. MK11 was at least modern enough to be decent about hiding it, but if the opponent got you into a party chat or anything like that, the opponent could rip your IP, and because the game was peer-to-peer, start booting you offline. The strategy is just to send a lot of packets or data to your internet, and it would cause you to start lagging super badly and then eventually crash out of the set, giving the cheater a win and you a loss. MK1, for better or for worse though, has dedicated servers. It's why we see the issues in Africa where people would have horrible ping because the game simply didn't have servers in Africa. The African players were having to connect to European or North American servers, which is a lot harder to actually lag switch. The only option for your opponent, if the opponent wanted to cheat, was raise their own ping super high anytime you were doing something. And if the player raised their own ping to try and do that, the game does have safeguards. Notice if the ping ever spikes up really high, the game will oftentimes just crash out, and you'll actually take the win, and the opponent who was lagging really bad will lose. That's because there is a safeguard where if one player's ping shoots up way higher than the others, the game will just default into ending the match to stop exploits just like that, where a player just artificially raises their own ping super high. But there are ways to cause the server to lag that feels like a DDoS attack. You see it in games just like MK1, Overwatch, Apex, anything like that. And so if I was landing a combo on Melina like this, you could, in theory, start sending a bunch of traffic to the dedicated server in order to get the entire server to crash out for every player. But that's expensive, and you would need to either have a lot of money to pay somebody with a bot farm to do it, or it would have to be a super popular thing or event where a bunch of volunteers choose to send all their possible internet traffic to that server, which is unlikely. In MK1, a few months into the game's lifespan, we realized it could actually be done by spamming the pause button just like this. it would cause the game to lag, kind of like we're seeing right now, even though it's just stopping because it's training mode. And there's always usually one exploit like that that is causing the server problems. In Overwatch 2, it had something to do with Torb's hammer. The cheaters had to basically equip the Torb hammer and glitch it out in a way where the server couldn't actually handle the data being sent, causing the lobby to crash. So in neither of those cases was it a true DDoS attack on the server itself. So as long as it gets patched out, you don't have that exploit and cheaters can't do it. So yes, while I know it sucks to go against somebody where it feels like every single time you're doing a combo it lags, but truthfully there aren't a lot of ways to lag switch Mortal Kombat 1. It's just not really all that possible. And if people are doing it by raising their ping up 30 to 50, you can oftentimes still combo. And you have to remember, the opponent themselves is lagging way worse than you. So how does this auto duck, auto block feature work, and how can we beat it? Now, it might seem spooky at first when watching the clips because it looks like the cheater is literally receiving the game data first and causing the character model to do things automatically. But you can tell that's not really what's going on, because if the player that's cheating was receiving that data and spoofing it to the server to make themselves auto block or anything like that, the player could do much worse things. The cheater could make you auto quit the game. The cheater could do a lot of things, stopping you from using moves correctly, changing your moves around, anything like that. So it's not the cheat actually taking the game's information it sends to the server and doing stuff with it. It's the cheats reacting to the actual animations on the screen. How do I know this and why does that make sense? Well, first, why it makes sense is these cheats are available for all the major fighting games, and so yeah, you just quickly screen read what's going on. But second, the big tell is the fact that the cameo abilities do not get auto blocked. This clip right here, you see Sikander throw the Serena glaive multiple times as the cheater is doing the auto walk down function that normally would block all of the attacks. But because Serena is not the player model that it is actively watching to do moves, it actually doesn't register it should auto block. That's not to say the cheater can't block those, because clearly the cheater still has control over their own character and the cheats can just input on the side. You notice this in clips like this where the katana does the down 3 twice in a row and the second down 3 actually hits. The reason that second poke actually lands is the cheater inputted a move first, but you still see on the button log the cheats tried to input a down block as quickly as possible. On top of this, you don't see the cheats auto ducking all the different highs in the game that could lead to duck OS punishes or micro ducks. That's because it's way easier to read what a throw animation is, because all the characters pretty much have the same throw animation. I would really like somebody to test it with Ermac himself, because his throw animation is so different from the rest of the cast. The next one, the cheats auto down to jumps. That makes sense. If the screen is small enough, meaning you're close enough to the opponent, and the cheat reads a jump, yeah, it's very easy to say, oh, that opponent just leaped into the air and the screen size is small enough at the moment that I know I'm close enough, just input down to. Auto block, yes, there are overheads and lows, but at the end of the day, an overhead kind of looks like an overhead and a low kind of looks like a low. You notice the cheat up blocking way more often than a normal player ever would. That's because the cheat just says, oh, that attack comes from pretty high up, I'll just treat that as an overhead. Oh, that attack comes from decently far down low, I'll treat that as a low. And it doesn't really matter if it's wrong in the grand scheme of things, as in if it's a mid or a high attack, no harm, no foul. But there are very few animations in this game that look like overheads when in reality they're lows, or vice versa. Which leads me into why this cheater has so many losses. You would think there's no way you could lose that often cheating. It's because the player still has to actively do the inputs to land hits, and on top of that, the cheat actually counteracts them a lot during sets. You'll notice the cheater dropping easy combo starters because the cheat inputted a block when it shouldn't have. Like, say you interrupted the opponent's hit, so you got a counter hit, and you hit 1-2 to punish that. The cheat still hit block because it saw an attack from the opponent coming, meaning it actually interrupts the cheater's combo timing, so the cheater doesn't actually get the input, and the combo just drops, lands a couple hits, but doesn't actually confirm into anything longer in some instances. On top of that, if you just pick a cameo like Serena or anything with high zoning capability or just a lot of tools to open up the opponent, that is great for you. Specifically, you want the cameo to be doing all the animations themselves. Like Serena, she does all the animations herself, but Farah does get onto Scorpion, so the cheat most likely would read that from him. And of course, some people are going to take a lot of scummy losses to this because you'll go into Combat League with Scorpion Farah. There's not a lot you could do at that point, and that sucks. But what you can do is go on to WB Games right now. It is the top of the list on bug reports. We just vote on this one, so NetherRealm will address it more quickly, which is scary for the longevity of having PC as a viable platform to feel comfortable playing competitively, because yeah, you run a risk of a PC player using this and maybe just cranking down the sensitivity a little bit, so it's not ducking every throw at every range, or it's slightly late on ducking, or slightly late on blocking. The easiest solution if you play on console is just to turn off crossplay in general. If crossplay is off, you have no chance of running into this cheater because you need to be on PC to actually have the cheats running. So if you turn off crossplay, you're not going to run into any issues. You know, if you don't care about your record all that much, try and beat the cheater. You know, make the cheater just be like, I give up. I don't care. I don't want to play this game anyways, because you're projectile zoning with Serena or others all the way. That's what I'll be trying to do, because I just think that's funny. Yeah, this was just a little PSA. This cheat seller's been in Street Fighter 6, in Tekken 8, and now finally Mortal Kombat 1. So we'll have to deal with this like every other community has to.